Oh, guy says that Echo Park is so Dinosaur National Monument because he says, "Hear me all and listen good." Echo Park. I mean, hear me all and listen good. The effort will be worth the cold if you are brave and in the wood. I give you title to the gold. Echo Park. Yeah. There's Whispering Cave at Echo Park. It's called Echo Park. Fenn says things like in the blogs, the whispers have a lot to tell you. Whispering Cave, Echoes, all of that stuff took me to Echo Park and the Dinosaur National Monument. Rich's New and Old, Dinosaur Bones, His Treasure. I mean, there were so many things that tied me to Dinosaur National Monument on top of the actual clues. I'll tell you what the clues were. They're in the videos. You got Flaming Gorge, you got Brown's Park Refuge, home of Brown. It's a refuge for the animals, a home. You have the canyon, of course, from Flaming Gorge. You had Wild Mountain North and Wild Mountain South, which arc you around. No Place for the Meek takes you in this arc. Then when you get into Dinosaur National Monument, you get to Pool Creek. You need no paddle up Pool Creek. It's a little tiny creek. And then just heavy loads and water high. Heavy loads were Iron Mine Draw in the Yampa River, which has a cliff over it called Warm Springs Cliff. And I thought the Warm Springs Cliff was a clever way of saying water's high. Even though the waters are not high, technically, they're in the river below. In the Iron Mine Draw, heavy loads, the cliff was called Warm Springs Cliff. You could say the name itself says the waters are on the cliff. See what I mean? Playing with words, that's the way my mind is working. If you want to look it up, you can trace the map and you'll see it. And that's what I did. I just didn't find it. But it was fun looking. Very cool place. Mr. Bryce a month ago says, "I don't know much about bronze, but I understand copper a little. What color do you suppose the chest is if it's wet?" He's alluding to Fenn saying, "I know it's wet right." I think Fenn said, "I know right now it's wet." Or someone was asking him about at the moment, what do you think about it? And he said it's wet. Now later on, Fenn came back and people freak out over everything he says. And he said, look, technically speaking, he said, if that thing's got a bunch of leaves blown over it and they're moist, he didn't use the word leaves. I said he'd think if there was a lot of dirt around it or something, but then that freaks people out. Because are you saying it's buried? But he's trying to say moist, wet. It could just be moist because of the environment it's in. Not necessarily underwater, wet. Now technically it's wet because it's got dew all over it. You know, I know it's morning out there. That would be a big difference than a place like Vermilion Creek. You ain't gonna there is no dew in Vermilion Creek. It's too arid. But anyway, if it's wet and it's 10 years, it's been getting wet and dry and wet, it should probably be a greenish tinge brown, which is going to be just wonderful to look for, right? Fenn said, "This is Troy. Why must I go? Is the blaze a single object? In a word, yes." That's what Fenn said. When someone said, "Is the blaze a single object?" Fenn said, in a word, yes. Troy Barlow said, "In a word" is an idiom that means in short, in summary. So no. It still might be an object or group of objects that are named as considered a one. Mount Rushmore National Monument is such an example. Other people have pointed that out too. I didn't pick up on that in a word is kind of a phrase. It's just not a random words. And it signifies truncating, reducing everything. So what he's saying is technically, in a word, it's kind of like, well, in short, yeah. But it may not encompass all of the details of that answer. If you know what I'm trying to say and what Troy was saying. Someone else said the same thing to me. They said, in a word is a phrase kind of means in summation. It's not that detailed. Troy also said a carousel is a blaze that is more than one object, but in a word, it is a single object. That's true. You have all of the rides on the carousel itself. And it doesn't face any direction, so he's talking about the blaze being a carousel. Yeah, this whole thing with Catcher in the Rye, I never read the book. But I did a video where I talked about a carousel that I went on when I was a kid in Virginia, at Great Falls, Virginia, and people were writing me saying, have you read Catcher in the Rye? It ends with the carousel. And I go, no, I've never read Catcher in the Rye. Still haven't read Catcher in the Rye. I know it is supposed to be the most incredible book talking about talking about coming of age and dealing with the hypocrisy of the world we live in. And it just has inspired so many people to do good and bad things, from writing to killing, assassinating people. I've never read the book. Gardenia Babe said, maybe Fenn evaded answering which way the blaze faces. He is not giving this away. Like he said, whoever finds the treasure will have worked for it. Also, it's difficult but not impossible to find. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that. There is nothing, I firmly believe Fenn could, I don't want to use the word lie, misdirect. I'm getting into semantics now. Misdirect us by the things he says. But that's exactly what I said earlier, right? I mean, if Fenn is willing to steer you away from it if he thinks you're getting too close, and maybe in a kind of a not too cool way, toy with you by giving you clues when you're too far away, I think he's a very tricky guy. And I think he likes to play games. So, you're right. Maybe that's all he was doing when he's saying, well, I'm not sure it faces in any direction. Maybe he's just saying, I'm going to throw you off. I don't care. He has said that many times. I don't, in his own way. I don't care. I don't care if they find it while I'm alive. I don't care if they find it when I'm dead. I don't care if they find it 1,000 years from now. It's not like it has to be found or something's going to happen to him. It's not like there's something legally pressing on Fenn about when it's found and all that. Last but not least, Mike Nodine a month ago said, how does someone get within 200 feet of the chest and walk right past it if the blaze is a large object? Not sure anybody said it's a large object. It's supposed to be a single object that stands out. That's the best way I would put it. It's supposed to be an object that stands out. That's all I got for you, folks. This is going to turn out to be this long, rambling, all over the place video series, but the people who are searching for the treasure chest don't seem to mind. Because I am, in fact... Oh! How could I forget? Before I go. Remember at the very beginning I said I'm going to read the first 2 pages, which I started with page 4, because the pages before that are just titles and copyright dates and all that. The Thrill of the Chase, a memoir. Okay. So I started with 4 and I didn't read 5. And 5 is the infamous, or not infamous, but is the very stands out. Life is a game of I hate this poem. I don't know who wrote it, but I don't like the meter in it. The meter is for the people who don't care about English, the rhythm of it, the rhythm of it. Life is a game of poker. Happiness is the pot. Fate deals you 4 cards and a joker. and you play whether you like it or not. I hate that last line. It really just stands out. Oh, maybe it's supposed to stand out. I don't know. Maybe it is. But life is a game of poker. Happiness is the pot. Fate deals you 4 cards and a joker, and you play whether you like it or not. A lot of people have no idea what that means. It means something to me. I'm going to absolutely leave that right at that. And he says below it, this book is dedicated to those who love the thrill of the chase. And that's it. I may read more of this in the future. It is kind of fun to read it, although, you know, some of these don't inspire me to read anything at all. I mean, he talks about going bald. None of that stuff on the next page is going to be... God, there's a lot of weird stuff in here, though. There are so many things that make you wonder that he's giving you clues and hints. Almost every page. Just these weird little anachronistic, if that's the right word, just these weird little kind of stories that I never quite see the relevance of him bothering to write them unless he's given me and you a hint. I just don't. I think a lot of people feel that way, don't you? You read these books and you just think, I don't know, there's a lot of kind of stuff that leads nowhere. And then you think, well, it's got to lead somewhere, so it must be a hint. Everybody have a good day. Hope we're all having fun. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.